Hey guys, it's Q&A Tuesday. Before I get into the questions, a few quick updates. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I always try to do my best to answer all your comments, or at least comment on your comments and so on and so forth. Sort of been in comment jail in the last 30 days or so, and the reason for that has been traveling extensively. In fact, it's now August 5th, and I have already visited 8 different countries. I've been to Dubai, Hong Kong, Germany, Austria, been to the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, and I just came back from the Bahamas where we celebrated my buddy's 40th birthday. I'm gonna put out a few videos. Obviously Dubai, Hong Kong, my friend's birthday party. I video on a couple of the European countries that I have visited. It's becoming more difficult. The more subscribers I get, the more comments I get on my videos. So obviously I'm doing something right, but at the same token, it's taking up a lot of my time. But I promise you I will catch up and I'll get to all your comments and questions just the same. A lot of big things happening in the month of August in terms of the YouTube channel. I'm finally going to get to do an office tour for you guys. You guys can actually see what Luxury Bazaar looks like a little more in depth. Of course, we're going to do it in our style. Should be a fun video. We're doing another giveaway to a veteran, and we're doing some giveaways to college students. All in all, there should be close to another 10 exciting videos coming out, so stay tuned for that. You guys saw the trailer we finally made for the channel. I always felt like, I wanted to have some content and some audience before I went and created an actual trailer. If you haven't seen it already, it's the trailer that's on my channel. It's pretty easy to catch. Let me know your thoughts on that. Really, really like that as well. Enough of that. I'm going to jump into some questions here. First question from Michael Tegner. Hey Roman, great video as always. So great that you take the time to do this. Thank you. I have a Seiko that I bought in 2006 for around $800. It was my favorite for many years, but now my collection of watches has reached 21 watches, and I find that I rarely use my older watches, maybe mostly because they're primarily quartz watches, they require a battery, but in hopes of maybe one day they'll become collectible, I will keep them. So I also love mechanical watches, but the last few years I have purchased Citizen solar watches, which just need a bit of light to run, which makes it really convenient. Would love to hear you make some type of video on Citizen's watch as well. I actually did. If you looked at great buys under 1,000, something like that, Ian, if you can link it up below, that'd be great. I did talk about Citizen, specifically the solar watch. This was their response to Seiko GPS, which would be the satellite wave. Another side question, traveling with an expensive watch. I normally only wear my more expensive watches for private gatherings. Have you had any bad experience wearing a valuable watch on your travels? I do travel a lot, and I do travel oftentimes with a watch on my wrist that could be very expensive, up to $100,000, maybe even more. For that very reason, I have what's called carrying insurance that I get through my company. As the owner of the company, I can carry up to $500,000 worth of stuff with me. Of course, there are some loopholes there. You actually have to be wearing the watch. If I'm carrying more than one watch, I usually carry it for business. For the most part, I try not to carry more than one watch. And when I go to certain places, like when I went to Europe, I wore a very incognito watch. I wore my AP Royal Oak, the vintage piece, and from a glance, nobody really knows that that's an expensive watch. Same would go for this Breguet. If I have this Breguet on my wrist and I'm traveling in places where I feel it may be somewhat dangerous to have that on my wrist, I will put on something like this, which is a vintage Breguet. Nobody knows what this is unless they really, really know watches and they don't really know the value of this watch. For the most part, my suggestion to a private consumer is ensure you have a separate insurance policy that covers your watches and jewelry. For example, I have a separate insurance policy that covers my wife's pieces one by one. I have a blanket insurance for her small trinkets, and some of the bigger ticket items like her engagement ring and some of her watches, I insure it separately. So if God forbid anything happens to them, she is fully covered. Chubb Insurance, Jewelers Block, or Lloyd's of London. Those are the 3 companies that don't really a whole lot of hassle if God forbid something goes down. But I haven't had anything stolen from me or taken away from me. So I haven't had to claim anything on my insurance luckily yet, and I don't really look forward to doing that. I just sleep with a peace of mind that my stuff is covered. I guess the only thing is like Chris Rock says,
you got to have some insurance. You got to. There's an insurance. They shouldn't even call it insurance. They should just call it in case shit. Like, I give a company some money in case shit happens. Now, if shit don't happen, shouldn't I get my money back?
Thanks for that one, Ian. Anyway, jumping on to the next question from Jay Hudell. Hi, Roman and Ian. Thanks for the video. You're welcome. More personal question. Where did you learn your business practice and ethics? I find that my dad tries to teach me the same stuff like building relationships over getting a quick buck. Is this from military training, and what are your aspirations for your company? P.S. I'm about to start my commercial pilot career in a few months. Hopefully we'll get a chance to meet down the road and buy a few watches. Cheers. Business practices and ethics sort of come with the territory. I can't tell you that I'm a saint when it comes to business, especially in the beginning. When I was first starting out, there were a few times there that I caught myself chasing the buck and valuing the buck over certain things. But as time goes by, you grow up as an individual, you grow up as a businessman, and you quickly realize, usually on your own mistakes, that again, you have to have certain business ethics and practices. Military was a huge part of my life. Quick story, I came home after basic training, and because I decided to go and become a cavalry scout or forward observer in the military, my basic training wasn't the regular 8 weeks. It was mixed in with my MOS training, which is job training basically. So my basic training lasted in almost 5 months. When I came back home, much of my friends were talking to me like, "Oh my God, Roman, you sound brainwashed." You know, that was a whole brainwash thing. You know, when you go in the army, people tell you, "Oh, they brainwash you and this and this and that." They don't really brainwash you. What they do, you know, as a kid at 18 years old, and 18 you're still a kid, you come into an atmosphere where they break you down both mentally and physically, right? And then they build you back up as a soldier, and that makes you grow up in a very short amount of time, sort of unnaturally. You know, an 18-year-old kid nowadays is going to go through trials and tribulations and over a few years, you know, grow into being a man. And I hate to sound sexist of this way, but that's just what it is. Where in the military, when you go through basic training, they make you do that in a short, unnatural amount of time. Hence, when you come out and you talk to some of your buddies that are hanging out in college that think that you're brainwashed. The military was a big part of that. The military gave me an adult outlook on life much earlier in my life than I normally would, which is why I'm a big advocate of the fact that I think everyone should go through military training. I'm not saying you need to serve 2-3 years like other countries do, or most other countries do, but in the very least, you should go through that basic training, because nothing will prepare you physically and mentally for anything you want to take on post the military, like the military itself. And I think it had a pretty huge effect for me, not just in business, but also in family life and in life in general when it comes to treating people a certain way. One of the biggest things I believe the military teaches everyone is that everyone is green. Both myself and I raise my children the same way. Don't know the difference between race, color, religious beliefs, or anything of that nature. They know that all people are the same and all people should be treated equally regardless of the color of the skin, again, religion, or anything else. And that's really a good thing to do, because if you're in the military and you're some sort of a bigot and you don't like somebody based on their race, color, or religion, and you got to go into battle with that person, you probably wouldn't feel all that comfortable with that guy or girl behind you with a loaded gun. And that's kind of why that was extremely important in the military, that everybody's indeed green. So that was also a pretty big deal. But everything else came with experience, you know. Smart people learn other people's mistakes. They say dumb people learn on their own mistakes. And I've learned on my own mistakes. I was dumb once in a while. But with time, as long as you set your goals to be respectful, to have proper business ethics, it will come to you with time and with age. So I hope that answers your question, and good luck in your commercial pilot career. I do fly a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if I ran into one of those airplanes that you're going to be flying. Next question comes from Matthias Shuttle or Shot. Again, I apologize if I mangled your name. Hi Roman, your YouTube channel is absolutely great. Thank you. I truly appreciate in-depth knowledge and learn a lot by watching your videos. Thanks for sharing this. One question I would hope you could cover in one of your Q&As: 116-500 stainless steel versus 116-519 LN Oyster Flex. Ian, if you can pop those on the screen. Particularly the white gold. I realized that the Oyster Flex is trading over list as well now. Are the prices for the white gold inflated to justify the price of stainless steel, or is truly demand rising as people consider precious metals versus stainless steel? Keep up the good work. In regards from Germany, Matthias. I've talked about this briefly before, so I won't spend much time on it, but I will tell you this. When you have a brand where a lineup of particular watches are selling like hotcakes, it will bring up the entire line. Whether it's an Oyster Flex that went up in price, or any of the other golder models, or even some of the stainless steel models that weren't selling as well before as they do now. This is what happens in general when there's a big hype on a brand, which is Rolex today, and you have the Batmans, the Hulks, other GMTs, you have the Daytonas, you have the Sky Dwellers, you have numerous watches. This hasn't happened with Rolex before. Before it used to be just that Daytona that would go over a list, and that was the hype watch. Now you have 6 or 7 different watches that are hyped up. So the brand is hyped up in general, and it brings the price of everything else up. I do like the Oyster Flex. I actually like the Oyster Flex in yellow, and I do like it in white with that sort of like grayish, even a little bit bluish dial. I really like the way that looks. To me, it's just an attractive watch in general. Plus, I like it on a rubber strap. But I will tell you one thing. If you're considering Oyster Flex versus stainless steel, I will tell you this. Gold is gold. At the end of the day, a gold watch is more expensive than a steel watch. So the question becomes, do you want the hottest selling watch of all time, which is the stainless steel Daytona? In this case, it would be the newer one with the ceramic bezel. Or do you want to go with a watch that's actually more expensive to the untrained eye, so to speak? The gold Daytonas are indeed more expensive. Again, I'm going back to the same thing, buy what you like first and foremost. But to answer your question, the hype is real, as they say. It's basically the entire brand that's hot now, and it brought up the pricing of everything else. And by the way, I don't think you necessarily have to pay over list for the Oyster Flex Daytona. That's something you can get at a local AD. You may have to wait a little bit of time, but it's not a steel Daytona, so I don't see any local AD not having an issue ordering you one for you waiting a couple of months and receiving it at list rather than over list. If you must have it now, pay a little more and purchase it. Hope that answers your question. Next question comes from James Bihari. Hi, Roman. I have a question. Don't know much about watches. I was given a GMT Master 2 as a wedding present from my dad. I liked how the Rolex was made and enjoyed wearing it, but found it a bit showy. So I decided to buy another one, which was more understated. 2 years ago, I was kind of more into having a very recognizable big watch with a bezel. Now, not so much. But one thing I was embarrassed to ask, and I can't really find information on this, how long can an automatic watch sit around doing nothing? Does it make the movement go bad? As mostly I wear a Datejust 41 I got and put the other one away. It just stays in a safe and I haven't really touched it for weeks. Is that bad? Should I swap watches over a particular time interval? You don't have to swap any watch. In fact, the watch can sit for quite a while. And for you to worry about this watch going stale, the movement going stale, you have to think in terms of the oil in the movement, right? The movement is lubricated and therefore has a little bit of oil in it. That can go stale, but it's definitely going to take a heck of a lot longer than a few weeks. In fact, it could take years. They say you should service your watch every 5 to 7 years, and that's because the watch needs to be taken apart, cleaned up, and the oil needs to be changed, an oil change per se, right? What I would do with that watch is every couple of months, if you are concerned, take it out, simply wind it, let it run itself down until the power reserve is done, and it can stay in your safe for years. In fact, by it staying in your safe, odds are you probably won't even need to service it in 5 to 7 years. But it is not necessary to have your watch wound or worn or actually working for it to go stale, as you actually put it. There's really no issues there. A lot of people go out there and buy winders and so on and so forth. Winders are actually useless for the most part, with the exception of actually looking great on top of your desk or your nightstand, or if you have a perpetual calendar, which if that thing stops, and it's a bit of a pain to set. So that's the only time I would probably suggest a watch winder. But for something like this, take it out every couple of months, wind it. If you want to put it on your wrist, but really not necessary. Hope that answers your question. Next question from Alexander Tavitsanen. Hope I got your name right, Alex. Hi, Roman. Just been watching all your Q&A videos like it was Game of Thrones for watches. I love that analogy. Game of Thrones is probably one of my favorite shows ever. And I'm actually probably sad, like most of you that watch that it's actually over, and it was over so quickly for the last season. But this show is not about Game of Thrones. You really hit the bullseye with your videos. I just bought my first apartment, so the next step, of course, was my watch. You have said it before, but confirmed it again on the episode. The stainless steel Rolex Daytona is trading quite high over retail. Hopefully for me, the prices will go down. They won't. Daytona's prices will never go down. They never have. So unless something drastic happens in the world today, unfortunately, stainless steel Daytonas will always trade over list. Anyway, so unless I get lucky and get a GMT or a Daytona straight from the AD, I will look for Omega Speedmaster instead, because I'm not in a hurry. There are many models and variations of the Speedmaster, such as a professional moon phase, professional chronographing, and the 39.7 millimeter CK2998, etc. I really like the look of the chronograph, the 311-3240-3002-0001. I think I'll have Ian pop that up on the screen, because I don't think everybody knows off the top of their head what that watch is. If you had to pick one Speedmaster, which would it be regarding the best value for the money and second-hand value? I will tell you what my absolute pick was this year, and that was the 50th anniversary of the landing on the moon that they just came out with in stainless steel. Oddly enough, I was actually going to buy myself one of those, and I was fairly certain I can pick one up at list. What's happened thus far is that all the orders for the watches have been taken. So if you call the Omega Boutique, they say that they're sold out. But it doesn't mean I won't be able to pick one up at retail, or maybe even under going forward, because they made quite a few of them. So what's going to happen is that once the watches start coming in, not everybody that ordered one is actually going to pick it up. So they are going to be available. That would be my personal pick. I think it's a watch that signifies a very big number and a huge feat in history, right? So for me, that would be the Speedmaster I go with. If you're patient enough, I would actually wait, because you're probably going to see them trading over list right off the bat for people that bought them to resell them. But eventually, as all other, unfortunately, anniversary pieces, maybe with the exception of the Snoopy watch, they too tend to sell under retail. We have a 40th anniversary Omega. I showed it on one of my What's on My Desks that actually trading under list from 2012, I think it was, right? So there are definitely lots of choices out there, especially if you go the pre-owned route. Look at some of the past anniversary series. Me personally, I just kind of like a gimmick behind my Speedmasters, and anything that has to do with the moon or any of the Apollo missions speaks to me. It doesn't necessarily that you need to like it, but definitely check those out. I think there's real value there. There's some collectability to it, at least in my eyes, and that would be the Speedmaster. I would go with something from that lineup or the new one that just came out. Well, guys, that's it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. As always, don't forget to comment your new questions below. I will try to get them as much as I possibly can. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm nearing that 10,000 subscribers mark, and I'm super excited about it. So if you're watching my videos and you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you enjoy what you have to say, and share it with those that you think may enjoy my content. Other than that, I'll see you guys next Tuesday.